2, 1. What's going on, everybody? It's your doggy, the Lo-Fi Horror Guy. Welcome to the Lo-Fi Horror Guys Growing on You Live. Today, I'm doing a live in-shop interview with my dude Harrison here from Spin City Records and DVDs. Harrison, thank you so much, man. This is so sick. I have to say, honestly, in the West Michigan, certainly for Muskegon, you're not finding a shop like Spin City. Tell us a little bit about this and the start of the shop, my man.
Yeah, no problem. I definitely agree with you. Yeah, this West Michigan definitely needs it. Hi, I'm Harrison Lange. I own the shop Spin City, and I've always loved movies growing up, and this has turned into my 3-year-long project of bringing in not only just regular movies and records and CDs and cassettes into this area, but also kind of the underground horror, exploitation, and other stuff that most people don't get, especially in this area.
It's awesome. I mean, and you know, for sure, like that's one of those things too that I kind of emphasize as far as anybody in the Midwest. You know, for a long time, I remember a spot, if anybody remembers Suncoast Video in Grand Rapids, that was kind of like the go-to for a long time, where you went there, and that was my first time seeing Troma on DVD. Now your experience, you know, as far as film, I know you've mentioned before your dad being really into film. What are your earlier memories as far as initially, film coming in, and then horror of all things?
Yeah, so my dad, he actually always owned a comic book shop growing up, and he's always kind of had that nerd life, more so comic books, and he kind of had that crowd of, you know, it kind of got into a little bit of the goofy horror movies. You know, he grew up obviously in the 80s and late 70s where horror and goofy movies were becoming that popular thing, the video nasties, and you know, oh, you shouldn't watch this, and he'd just be at sleepovers, you know, renting the nastiest movie. And a little bit when I'm growing up, you know, it's like whenever something's on HBO or something like that, you know, you show me bits and pieces of stuff like From Beyond, you know, scaring the crap out of me with some of the movies, you know, but earliest stuff, you know, stuff that, you know, I kind of fully watched. I remember my earliest stuff being like Starship Troopers, closing my eyes from the nudity part, but you know, seeing the cool people melting from the bugs and whatnot. The Mummy being like one of my all-time favorites, partially for that reason. A lot of early that kind of gateway horror stuff. Deep Rising, another one. When I was little, just being just the cool monsters, and my dad had Laserdisc as well growing up.
Oh, okay.
And he really started me off and my brother off. We'd have family movie night. We'd watch Deadly Mantis, The Thing, Mole People, a lot of the 50s giant monster movies, which always was really cool. And from there, you know, going from Creature of the Black Lagoon, eventually it's like, okay, now we're getting the 70s era, and then the 80s, and then the 90s, and it just kind of continued from there of like, there's something about horror movies that you just get out of. Yeah. Anyone can watch it and get whatever they want out of it.
Yeah.
You know, different things scared me, different things scared my brother, and just there was just always something just intriguing about the horror movies that scared me. You know, you can't look away, you can't, you know, and especially growing up in a more Lutheran setting in the West Michigan area. I went to a small school for middle school, a Lutheran school, and I was really the only one that kind of like, Child's Play and Freddy vs. Jason and all that, you know. No one else in my friend group was really doing that. They hadn't seen Aliens or like Prince of Darkness and stuff like that. And I'd be like, have you not seen The Thing? I'm like, what? This is the greatest movie ever made. And, you know, I'd show them that, and you know, most of them would be like, oh yeah, you know, that is awesome. And, you know, but some parents would probably not have appreciated me being the kid that brings like Dawn of the Dead.
Bad influence all of a sudden.
A little bit on that. Some parents didn't even like Harry Potter, so I guarantee they didn't even want them watching Night of the Creeps or Nightmare on Elm Street.
I mean, and you mentioned too, because like it's funny you mentioning that, and I feel like for whatever reason in the Midwest, I come across so many more, not so many more, but a lot of people who have that upbringing of, you know, a very heavy Catholic or Christian, you know, background, and you know, where things like heavy metal or horror come into play. You know, you didn't really have that backing from your parents, where they're like, we're not really super excited that you're into this stuff. for whatever reason, I remember young, and my parents were very old school Christians, still are, and I remember them running Leprechaun 2, and I had to sit right next to my dad.
Oh, no.
And I remember there just being points where he had to cover my eyes, and I had to sit there like with another human's hands over my eyes, covering my eyes while I'm watching. So, kind of touching on that, bring us back to, maybe even recently scenes, 2 or 3 scenes that come to mind as far as something that's just been forever ingrained in your brain.
Oh God, I gotta go back to From Beyond. My dad, every now and then, or when I was really young, and he'd want to start me off, it'd be like, "Oh, this movie's on. You got to see this scene," and then he'd like, "Okay, now you can go. You saw that cool scene," and that's mostly what intrigued me. He's like, "Well, I want to watch the rest." Like I can't take my eyes off. But the scene in From Beyond when Jeffrey Combs is sucking the brains out of the nurse through her eyeball, that is like in my brain. That I don't know how old I was when I saw that.
And hers.
Yeah. That just that it fucked me up, And I just, for the longest time, I didn't even know what movie that was, and I had to figure that out. And then another one, a really weird small movie. I think this is from the late '70s, but called Prophecy. I don't know if you know this one. It's like the mutant bear going around attacking like a sawmill for the environment, and something about that bear attacking that camping that. There's like the girl in the sleeping bag and all that. That also stuck with me for some reason. Okay. And another one, it's like, what movie is that? I'm having memories of it. I don't know what movie it is. And eventually, just in the store, I find a copy of it, and I'm like, oh shit, this is that movie. This is the bear.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
But it's just one of those things. It's in the back of your head, and you just remember it forever. And yeah, those are probably the two.
I mean, there's certain things with that too. I mean, it's funny even where it might not be something that's the most shocking, or it might not be something where it's it's the most intense. But even like talking with my wife last night about a movie like The Ring, for instance. Like my boy recently, he's 13. He recently watched it, and he was like, I don't know, it just wasn't that scary. But my wife and I both were like, when we initially watched it, like it resonates with you for whatever reason. It just there was a griminess to maybe the tape. There was something with that movie that really stuck with me for a while, and even watching recently is pretty.
Yeah, The Ring is one that gets me a little bit still, and I mean, even like a lot of people don't. Yeah, I get that in the store. It's like people don't find Jaws scary, and that opening scene of Jaws. I know I was born way after '77 or whenever that movie came out. But that opening scene of Jaws still just gives me chills. That is terrifying.
It is insane. That movie, that was, I think, pretty much the first, the start of horror for me. I was probably maybe 5 or 6. We were on vacation. I had gotten a concussion. I got hit in the head with a baseball.
Whoa.
So I came back. We were in Kentucky. My grandparents were trying to keep me awake, and they're like, "Hey, we have a bunch of movies on the shelf," because back then they tell you that you had to stay awake. So, they were like, well, in case you have a concussion, there's a bunch of movies, go and look at the movie shelf. And there was Jaws and Piranha, I remember, were 2 that really popped out. And I was like, can I watch Jaws? And, took advantage of the situation. And my mom let me put it on. And that opening scene, I was like, okay, can I go to sleep? That movie is absolutely, that was the start of, horror, for me. So... From there, as far as you kind of mentioned, your dad having a shop and your dad having that interest. Where did horror kind of expand outside of initially movies? Was there comics? Was there soundtracks that you ended up kind of developing an interest in, or was it more of a collection into movies themselves?
So I just something about working at my dad's shop for many years. I've just always had an intrigue, I guess, just movies in general, how they're made. As I get older, I think about why do I love the movie The Mummy so much? And you brought up music. Music's one, the sets, the pacing. You start to notice that kind of my high school era. And when I went to college, I wasn't sure quite what I wanted to do. Doing really bad in school, and eventually, I had some friends in college who be like, you should try theater. It's just really fun. And I was like, yeah, okay. So I did some acting. I ended up loving it. They had a lot of fun with me at the theater there, so I kept doing that throughout college, and I had a much better time. Ended up graduating, And then I just had the great idea of going to Minneapolis to continue doing some acting and whatnot, because I just was like, this is making sense. I love movies and whatnot. Maybe I could do some, just, not become a movie star or anything crazy like that, but just like go to Minneapolis where the theater scene's hot, just keep continuing that. And it went okay, and but it wasn't doing it as much. I was doing like small roles and whatnot, a little bit on camera stuff, but so I decided to come back here, and I was like, well, I've always sold stuff. I've always loved sharing stuff with people in some way, going to Comic Cons, selling comic books and toys and statues, and collecting stuff like my dad did, and getting back into just coming back home and watching more of the horror movies. And I continued watching stuff, going to film festivals in Minneapolis, and always just being like, this is really cool, talking with strangers about the movies we just saw. And eventually it kind of just led me to having my own store of like, well, Blockbusters are going away, family videos are maybe staying around, but Blockbuster's gone. There's no family video around here anymore, at least.
Yeah.
So like, where can people, even movie theaters, it's like, there's that, but what about, like, the movie theaters around here don't show, Blood Diner or anything that, like, the goofy stuff, and I hear about people like the drive-ins in Memphis doing that and whatnot. So it's like, where can I get that experience of, like, share the experience I had as a kid, going to Blockbuster or wherever, and also, picking out a movie yourself and finding out what you like, even if it isn't horror or not. I guess, how can I share that experience with people? Because maybe that is what I like more than any other aspect of movies and film and all that. And yeah, having a store just made sense in some way. I wasn't sure how I was going to do it in the beginning, what exactly I'd find, especially in West Michigan, but Facebook definitely helped, marketplace and all that, and just meeting people, Facebook groups, and from there the store kind of grew. I mean, I didn't have VHS for the first year of being here, and it just, eventually turned into this. And yeah, it isn't always just about horror for me, but just kind of, it's cool to have people come in here, pick out what they want, find what they're looking for, or even discover something new, and just be like, man, that Before trilogy, I never heard of it before. And those are wonderful, awesome movies, and just being able to have someone come in and be like, that movie you recommended, I loved Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. I can't believe I never heard of it beforehand. It's like, yeah, it's great, and there's just something about that's awesome. And other customers come in here and talk, even about the records that they used to have, and with each other and stuff. And that's just always been cool, that this is a place to just share experiences.
Yeah, I dig that. And you kind of touching on the whole aspect of taking on acting and going into that, did it give you a different respect, almost, even in the sense of looking at someone who just pops in and initially watching a movie and be like, God, this is so corny, how did they get this role, how did they even fucking get the funding to make this thing?
Oh, God.
And then you're a part of the process, and you're like, oof, I feel bad that they're getting shit on for this.
Oh yeah, yeah, for sure. It definitely gave me a much more respect, and I've always, there's a few movies I grew up being harsh on or whatnot, but I've always kind of been like, especially thanks to YouTube and watching YouTube in high school, and I'm really starting to appreciate, again, why I like the movies, what about movies standing out to me, checking out foreign stuff and all that, kind of being like, most people can bring whatever they want to a movie, especially horror movies. That's why I like horror movies so much, because you can get really whatever you want. There's always something scary to someone. Where romance movies are pretty straightforward generally. The comedies are generally pretty straightforward, but horror, just there's so much that can be brought into one scene even.
Yeah. Sure.
But yeah, just being on stage and even on camera for little bits and pieces here and there. Yeah, it's crazy learning all the stuff that goes into it, even stuff that you'll be doing to edit for this video. It's a lot, and it gave me a lot of appreciation for sure. of just like, the hardest thing I did for theater in college was practical effects. I did that once.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I had to get someone to like bleed on stage. I forgot the show, but basically like a nun. I was so excited to do practical effects for this, 'cause I'm like, they asked me to do it because in my theater was so small in college. We each had to do something. I did lighting once, directing once, writing once, and acting a few times, and all sorts of. That was awesome. I liked that. Smaller school, but that's the opportunity you get with that. Mm-hmm. And I had to basically make a nun bleed on stage. I had such a hard time figuring out how, like, okay, she eventually needs to reach in somewhere and quietly like pop a bag or rip something that's going to cause blood to drip down. How do I do that? There's no in-camera effects. I was losing my mind on it, and it was the hardest thing. And one show it did not go so well, so I had to figure out something new.
Oh man!
But yeah, that especially was like, how did John Carpenter and everyone get the Thing to look so real even today? I don't know how the fuck they did any of that stuff.
Yeah, God, that's so crazy.
Yeah,
and even you mentioned like set pieces. Like for instance, like I feel like I'm not so much an apologist as like I just appreciate horror. Like people absolutely dog shitting on the new Halloween movie. Like honestly, I thought it was a pretty decent entry into the whole aspect of the series. And I know people have their their thoughts or whatever, but the newest VHS movie, they just came out. They just released a VHS 99.
Yeah,
there's a segment in there where it's supposed to be like a Legends of the Hidden Temple. You remember that show?
Oh yeah.
And it like has gone wrong to where like the host is kind of sadistic and this whole thing plans out from it. Dude,
that's kind of funny.
It is ridiculous. Like it's one of those things where honestly I had never thought anything about like making a horror movie out of some of that, but whoever the fuck made the set pieces on that, it was spot on. I mean, just with like complete with having to go down the slide and landing in the sludge and digging around for a flag, like it was like,
oh my god,
the attention on that, and such a small project, as far as like, well, not tiny, but I mean VHS, is like it's still like a pretty, not entry, but what am I trying to say? Jesus,
I don't know, maybe not underground, independent, sure.
So, very cool, and it's crazy with film. And I think one of the things that's such the draw, even with like aspects like with your shop, you have all these posters around. Like in a little bit here, we'll do a little bit of a wrap around as far as with the store, but all the cool posters and all the cool art and everything. What are some of the ones that really stand out to you as far as something that you have in the shop and you're like, God, that was one of the first things that had to be out. Poster wise, the art that really stood out to you.
Oh God, you're bringing me back to Blockbuster and Family Video again as a kid, because there's always like the art that sticks out, especially the ones that creep you out. God, I sold a lot of my cool ones by now. I had my favorite one that I might have had was Crocodile. At one point, and I sold that a while ago. That was a really cool one. Mutilator's got a great poster. I had that as well. A big one of that, and that's another one I sold. But right now, God, a lot of the reprints, obviously. Like Ticks is fun. Yeah, I never thought I'd find a poster of Ticks. It's just like I get lucky finding some stuff. I love it. God, Child's Play 2 is one that probably Chucky scared me as a kid. For whatever reason, I was fine with like Freddy and Jason and Michael Myers and all that, and even like Pinhead a little bit. But Chucky scared the hell out of me as a kid. And I remember always, every time I went to Blockbuster, there was just something about Chucky staring me down with those scissors.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
That always creeped me out for some reason, and I only watched Chucky like recently, finally, all the way through.
Really? No
shit. Maybe like within the year, I finally watched all the movies all the way through. It was one of those, just some reason as a kid that stuck out to me the most. Chucky 2. Yeah.
Well, as far as with the shop, one thing, if you don't follow Spin City Records and DVDs on Instagram, check it out. One of the cool things is around October you announced that you have a full lineup of movies that you're going to be watching.
Yes.
Obviously you have you have a couple that are that are necessities and that are ones, you know, that are very special to you. But what comes to mind as far as, you know, something that pops up, maybe even the shop this year that you saw that you're like, man, I've never seen this before. I should check this movie out.
Ooh, some new ones that I've always really liked kind of the very subgenre of rock and roll horror. So one was Hack-O-Lantern, which has an awesome title. That's such an awesome. I can't believe I never found that till like, you know, years later. I think Red Letter Media did a video on him once, and that's maybe the only time I've ever heard of it. But like, yeah, I finally watched Hack-O-Lantern. Pretty dope. You know, that's a fun one. That's one of those very cheap, you know, cheesy ones for sure. And it's got great soundtrack and just a lot of gore, a lot of nudity. So you know, it's up there. I think it's perfect for Halloween. It's called Hack-O-Lantern.
Yeah,
so.
Dude, that I can't lie. That's like there are these titles, you know, and I touch on, you know, with different people as far as with these interviews. You know, luckily I have the opportunity. For us growing up and having that time of having Blockbuster and having Family Video, it was so funny for the longest time how, and you probably share this, where we felt like we knew, you know, anybody that brought up a horror movie was like, oh yeah, I know that, I've seen it. You know, and it was like you had this cocky arrogance to like, oh, I've definitely, if I didn't see it, I know what it is. It was released in 1979. All these boutique labels that are coming out right now that just release shit that it's like, what the fuck is Hack-O-Lantern, and how did I never know about this? You know, like it's insane with some of the cool stuff. And on top of, you know, the VHS that we see back here, once again, you know, we're gonna do a tour in a little bit here, but the shop has brand new boutique labels. You've been getting new releases recently for like Tuesdays. Is it Tuesdays now?
Yeah, Tuesdays.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
So you know, and with that, you know, like some of the labels. What are some of the labels that you see that are just putting out some absolutely stand up, you know, media, physical?
Vinegar Syndrome for sure is one that's introduced me to like some really just goofy ones for sure. Severin a bit too goes way into the underground as well. A recent fun one I got from Vinegar Syndrome, this came out a bit ago, but another one Red Letter Media introduced me to about Alien Private Eye.
I've never even heard of it.
You know, it is the cheesiest, you know, the plot is like an alien from another planet comes to Earth on vacation, and for vacation he makes like a private investigation firm. And it's like it is like the dumbest plot ever, but it is so funny. It is so damn entertaining. It is hilarious. I definitely recommend that.
God.
You know, and part of the charm, you know, you of course see like your mics peeking in the camera screen every now and then, or the frame, and it's like that time era when like you know, you and I probably know like there's that time era where like everyone started to get access to cameras and being able to make videos and whatnot and movies and being able to put it in Blockbuster and sell it to whatever small or big company. That is definitely one of them. I recommend just having a drink and watching that. It is absolutely fun. And Vinegar's, it's a good looking transfer. It's like clearly like I've never seen any copy of it anywhere. I'm sure they had to get a VHS rip off somewhere. And the Blu-ray looks great, you know. And they got this alternate slipcover to it. The care that they put in is amazing. But
you know, the first time I was introduced to Vinegar Syndrome was I had gotten a Blu-ray copy of The Suckling. Have you ever seen it?
I haven't seen it, but I know that one. That's the mutant baby.
Yeah. So for whatever reason, I was like, you know, this artwork looks awesome. The packaging, you know, everything about it just looks so sick. I remember buying it. I think it was like just short of maybe $40 or something like that. So I was like, man, you know, for Blu-ray, it's kind of expensive, you know. And the biggest thing that was like a shock to me was popping it in and starting to play, and I'm like, why the fuck does this look like a VHS? And it was just something that I had to grow to understand that, like, oh, they cleaned it up. It's not straight up a VHS, you know, the lighting of it and everything. You can actually see the darks, you know. But that first initial time of watching, you know, a release, I was like, why did I just spend $40 on this shit? And I was like kind of pissed. But then I looked into it, I was like, oh, okay, I understand the art that's going on here, what it is that they're doing, and, you know, and being able to clean it up with still keeping that initial, you know, like early on trashiness to it. Love it. Ever since then, I had to get over that, but that was my introduction. I was like, man, I really fucked up, I think. But yeah, and you mentioned too, you know, with Vinegar Syndrome and with Severn and, you know, some of the smaller labels, but then also you have Scream Factory titles that are coming in and limited slips, and you have steel books and all that. You know, as far as some of the recent releases, what have you seen from them that you're really impressed with, and that's available in the store?
I mean, I know some people have been upset that they're redoing everything in 4K and whatnot, and that doesn't make them rare anymore in some cases. But honestly, I think that's really cool, because I mean, even I missed out, you know, because I didn't start collecting, even know what Vinegar Syndrome or Shout Factory were, till like, you know, till I started making the store. Honestly, when I really started making a collection for myself at home, and going like, you know, oh wow, this actually has a Blu-ray, like. You know, Slumber Party Massacre has a Blu-ray release. What? Like, that's insane. You know, who does that? And then figure out, oh, well, okay, Shout Factory, and then from there, figuring it out. But like, I'm glad that they've, you know, Return of the Living Dead. You know, one of the best song I just re-released this Tuesday on 4K. But that's one. It's like, I cannot really find a nice Blu-ray copy of that anywhere. You know, I'm glad they re-released it, because I'm not paying $80 for the Blu-ray anyway, you know. I'm glad that they're re-released it, touching it up. Even like Army of Darkness, another one they did a while ago, like all the different endings, that's really cool. You know, Criterion too, they do a lot of the cool commentary tracks, alternate endings, and all this stuff. Even I didn't even know there was like an alternate ending to Night of the Creeps for the longest time. Yeah, right. Yeah, I didn't even know that there's a director's cut, and then there's the ending with like the dog at the end and what that everyone else saw. But you know, Shout Factory, Shout Factory has both endings. I didn't even until I read the back of the thing before I put it in. I was like, oh, I didn't even, I think that's awesome. Everyone gets to kind of know and see it, and I think that's always kind of the coolest thing with them is just most of being able to make the goofy, cheesy, sleazy stuff available that my dad grew up with, and ones that maybe I've always wanted to see but can never find on any streaming service, like Popcorn. It's finally on Shudder, I think, but I've never got to see Popcorn forever because I never see a copy of it anywhere. Yeah, and that's got a Blu-ray release too now. I forgot who did that one, but.
I remember that was one that that was a movie that I had to pay quite a bit for back in the day. There was a steelbook of it. Initially, I think I might have even told you the story about. I initially bought that movie years ago, paid like $45 for a DVD on Amazon, and it came in. It was bootleg.
Oh yeah.
And then they deleted their fucking store, so I couldn't get a return on it. So for a long time, I hated Popcorn. I wanted nothing to do with that movie. It's dead to me. It's shit. But finally, I think Synapse did the steelbook, and it was just out of this world.
I didn't know they did a steelbook. That's cool.
And it's funny, with some of the people, I feel like maybe this is even a meme, or somebody makes it a meme, where people are like, oh, this is amazing that now companies are doing these releases and they're putting all these extra details, and then I feel like, Criterion just kind of stands by, off to the side, like, look, motherfucker, I've been doing this for 40 years, however long. I mean, Criterion, has really been putting in the detail and the double box sets. I remember, I guess maybe even this might dig a little oddly, as far as going back in the brain there, but a release from Criterion that I bought was a movie called Salo, The 120 Days of Sodom. Have you ever heard of that?
Yeah.
Okay. Has there ever been a release that you bought and you were like, I am going to sell this as soon as I can? Because that was Salo for me. I watched it and I was like, I do not want this in my collection.
Oh, wow. There's got to be something, yeah.
Maybe even a movie that you think of and you're like, I didn't want to finish that.
Wow, I have a hard time with that.
We can come back to that.
That's one.
Something that popped in my head that I thought
question. Of. Yeah, there's plenty of movies where like Criterion did Breakfast Club. Yeah. And it's like I like Breakfast Club, but it's like okay, I don't think I'll buy the Criterion of that. Yeah. I can get $10 Blu-ray of it. It's the same. I guess it just doesn't have all the special features.
Right.
But it's like I don't need that on Criterion. Right. It's very easy to find.
And unfortunately, at the time, I should kind of clarify too. I bought Salo because that was the only version I could see out there. You know,
Yeah,
this was
that's
probably
probably-
even before like Amazon times where this was just the release of it, and I was like, oh, okay, cool. You know, like I'll check this out. I hear that it's extreme, and it was very extreme. I did not want to keep it.
There's a few movies I keep putting off for this. Salo's one of them.
Yeah.
Serbian film I don't think I'll ever see.
Oh,
Martyrs is another one. I'm like, I'll wait on that.
Oof.
I'll eventually watch Martyrs.
That one, I felt like it was a movie that stuck with you just because of the opportunity at the end of the movie. Really makes you think and really makes you, like they don't put it fully out here. They give you just enough as far as like what it is that's going on, and kind of make your own decision. But there's definitely some extreme with that.
Yeah.
Now I guess even we kind of touched on the Halloween season. Do you have a couple of picks that are in the store here that are something that you just feel are essentials as far as for the Halloween season? Something that you feel is something that someone can come in and they can buy today at Spin City.
Yeah. Oh wow. Well, few are essentials to me.
All right.
I mean, one is Evil Dead.
Okay.
The original.
Sure.
I mean, even Evil Dead 2, you could do that too. But the first one, kids go in the woods, kids don't come out. That's very Halloween. That's great. I don't want to just say like the easy answer of Halloween and whatnot, but another one I've always loved, I think everyone else loves it, is The Thing. The original, or not the original, but John Carpenter's The Thing.
Sure.
That is a perfect movie. I think there's not anyone that would disagree that this is like one of the greatest ever made. Practical effects, Golden Child. And another one, the one that a lot of people either forget or haven't seen as much, especially like that are younger than us. It doesn't have a U.S. Blu-ray release or anything yet.
Okay.
VH is very hard to find, but Trick or Treat, I think 1987.
Poster?
Yeah. It's
Okay.
great. Like as I said earlier, I have a little soft spot for rock and roll horror. Obviously, with me having records here and horror movies, there's a little bit of a blend. There's not many of these movies, but they're always fun. Black Roses is very fun, but Trick or Treat, it's called Trick or Treat. Obviously, it's got to go with Halloween. But you got Ozzy Osbourne in there. It's a pretty solid movie too.
Is it? Yeah, with like Alice Cooper.
Yeah, he appears in it too. Yeah, it's a really, really good one. And kind of getting into like Satanic Panic, especially that's still around today heavily.
Yeah.
Just not called that, even though it is Satanic Panic.
Mm-hmm.
But kid starts playing a record backwards.
Yeah.
And you start hearing voices, and that's like you always heard that. Growing up, that's a thing, and he does that and conjures the spirit of his favorite artist, and shit goes wild from there. So
man.
it's great
It's
for
awesome.
that. It's so awesome. Takes place on Halloween as well, and it's a great movie. I love that one. It is it's kind of like a Christmas Story to me.
Damn.
You gotta watch that
That's sick.
around Halloween or on Halloween.
Okay.
It's just got great vibes.
Sweet. That is so great. And it's funny, even, you mentioned with like The Thing, and even though it takes place in the snow, it takes place in the cold, there are those movies, like The Thing, where it's like, I don't have to be in the winter to watch this. Like, I can be in the middle of Halloween, I can be in the middle of summer, I can pop this on and just appreciate it as much, if not more, than, when it is cold as fuck outside. I'm like, feeling like I'm in the middle of, the situation with them. So,
Yeah.
So wrapping up here, really quick, what we're gonna do before we do this tour, I was just gonna pick out a couple of names here really fast, and I was just gonna throw something at you. Maybe a rarity piece, maybe something that might come to mind, just off the tip of the tongue here, and see if we have a release in the store here. So first off, something that I used to love that was ridiculous was a movie. I don't even know if it has a Blu-ray release, but a movie, Spellcaster. Would that?
Oh,
we have?
Shoot, I do have a VHS of that. Hang on, I think actually I have it on. Yeah, okay. This is one I haven't seen, but yeah, I do have it. Yeah, there it is, Spellcaster. I don't even know much about this one, honestly. But yeah, that's what I got. From the producer of Robot Jocks and Puppet Master. Okay, I don't even know that.
What else do you need?
Yeah, I mean, Puppet Masters are fun. Robot Jocks is a movie.
I feel like Spellcaster was right around the time that I was really appreciating the Warlock series and some of those, where it was like magic and it was kind of like the dark side of things and people being real assholes with it. This is awesome. So we have an RCA release. I don't know if this has a DVD. I don't know if you can see on the side here, but you got the side image. Good Lord. It's so sick, dude. Look at this. Awesome. So sick. I love it. And not to mention, $3. Some of the stuff around here, you come in, you go to gravitate, you're not going to absolutely waste your whole wallet. Okay, so we're talking Halloween horror. I'm trying to think of something that would be absolutely ridiculous. You mentioned Trick or Treat. What about a movie, Rocktober Blood?
Rocktober Blood. Oh, I do have, actually, I got a really cool copy of that one.
This is sick. All right.
This is in the showcase. But, yeah, okay. I don't know too much about the guys that released this.
No.
I don't think,
yes.
I don't know if this has a Blu-ray or not on it, but it obviously has an original. This is not an original VHS release. This is by Lo-Fi Video. I don't know too much about them, but they've done like this is 32 out of 50 on it. They do like some people have been re-releasing some stuff on VHS, new VHS rips, and these guys do that. This is another rock and roll horror movie. This one's a really goofy one, kind of fun. It's got a couple good kills in it, but. Another great rock and roll
movie. And so in kind of touching on those times of going to a video shop was always thinking that you felt like you knew everything, and then movies like that pop up and you're just like, how did I not know about this shit? It's all, okay. One more. Let me kind of dig back and think of. Okay, we touched on the holiday season, and of course we have Halloween, and local stores are already putting up Christmas stuff. What about something like somebody comes in and they're a Silent Night, Deadly Night aficionado?
Oh, okay.
They're really looking for something special.
I do have a couple. I think I got the second one up there on VHS, and then I do have another one in the showcase. I got the big box of the first one, which. I wish they did more of the big boxes. The big box. I don't know if some of you remember or knew, but it's one of the things I learned kind of recently that there's some they made big boxes of VHS. Really awesome. Sick. Yeah, it's great. And then the second one, I don't think I have any of the other sequels. There's like 5 or 6 of them, right? Something like that. But there's the second one, which most people probably know this one for the Garbage Day, which this movie is a lot of fun. I love both of them.
That is awesome. So sweet. I mean, and you have to appreciate, I think one of my posts that I mentioned about the store was, I was a zombie, it was a big box. Where the fuck is it?
I was
right
Zombie for the FBI.
Yes.
Yeah, that's one I have never heard of this one before. Another cool big box.
Absolutely insane.
This one I don't even find a lot of info on this one online when I look it up, but I've never heard of this movie before. I might watch it one day here, but I don't know anything about this one, to be honest.
That is so sick. It's so sick. And it's very much that is the spirit of that. If you can, just to wrap up here really quick, we will do just a little tour, checking out a couple of things here, checking out some of the stuff in the shop, and wrap
awesome.
there. So let's check a couple things out real quick. Boom. All right. So we just follow around.
Yeah. We got kind of one half is movies, one half music. This is kind of the movie half. I got bins of like some different genres of movies in here. Kind of like your basic stuff, drama, sci-fi, fantasy, stuff like that. The wall's gonna have a bit more of my goofy stuff, but this is all the DVDs here. I got all my posters above, and little ones, big ones, bunch of reprints. But this is where all the DVDs are, all alphabetical. Nice and organized, for now until people come in or I gotta add more stuff and whatnot. Pretty straightforward,
I mean, we have to mention some of these posters back here.
Oh,
But, you know,
yeah.
absolutely
I got more
insane
of these. I
collection
used to
here.
have more
Speaking
of
of that
these.
rascal, Leprechaun 2, son of a bitch.
Heck yeah, I got that. That ripped. Cyborg, another Cyborg.
Classic. League of Their
Great
Own?
movie. Magnolia. This is an original, actually. This
Dang.
one. I got this from the local drive-in here, the Getty. I
Oh,
actually bought
sure.
a bunch of their posters. Last summer, they were looking to clean out when they were cleaning up from COVID, and they were like, "Hey, would you buy, 2,000 posters from us?" And I was like, "Sure,"
Dang.
But a lot of these are from video stores, and same with the ones hanging like above me and whatnot. I had one lady call me up, and she used to work at, I think she said, a Blockbuster back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
And when that one closed in the early 2000s, she was able to keep all the stands and the posters from that Blockbuster. And that was really cool. She had a lot of stuff, so a lot of these posters came from her, and they're the ones that you would have seen in your local Blockbuster or mom and pop shop. That Freddy came from her. Freddy's dad, Standy.
This thing is
Yeah.
absolutely classic.
I love it. I got a Child's Play 1 from her as well, a Child's Play 2 stand that we can go check out in a sec too.
Sweet.
But yeah, I got so much cool stuff. Like I mentioned that Mutilator poster and that crocodile. Those came from her as well. She had so much stuff, and that's also the cool part about this line of work is people call me up, I go see them, I go see their storage locker or their basement, see their collection, and or their parents' collection or grandparents' collection. Either they're looking to sell or trade or whatnot, but I get to see, this person collected this, or this is what they had, and this is their story. This is the story of the collection, and I think that's awesome too.
That's sweet.
Yeah,
totally.
yeah. But I got a lot of the, more of the mini posters. Here's the giant Child's Play 2 stand that I was so excited to find.
Yo.
There. Yeah. I sold most of the stands by now, but I was like, I'm keeping the Chucky, I'm keeping the Freddy, at least for now. But I had to have those. Here's more like my rare VHS in here. This is where I pulled out the Silent Night and the Rocktober Blood. Some rare steel books in there too.
Media books, Godzilla,
Yeah.
a local favorite.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. So
Yeah.
sick.
Yeah, some of my rare stuff in there. More movie stuff in here. This is kind of the Blu-ray side, the 4K side. And then I got a little section where like my Arrow, Criterion, Synapse, Severin, all that stuff would go right around here. I get that stuff in all the time. And then, like I said, Blu-ray here, alphabetical, all the way up along, tons and tons of Blu-ray. I get lots of those in and out of here all the time. And then I got my new release area.
Oh, this is new.
Yeah,
Damn,
yes,
I walked right by
I
it.
finally
Shit.
got this. This is every Tuesday. New stuff goes up here at the top shelf. Like I said, Return of the Living Dead's new. Army of Darkness a couple weeks ago, The Fog.
Sick.
Also, Shout Factory or whatever else non-boutique goes there. Like Bodies just came out as well this week.
Totally. Very excited about that.
Yeah. Anything new, it goes in there.
Sick. And that's a cool thing too. On top of it, there's a lot of love for horror here, but you have different titles. You have different things. If your kids are into Disney, if your kids are into young comedy, there's lots of different things over here as far as a collection and a plethora of just film in general.
Yeah, I try to get a bunch of low-key stuff. Like, I don't know if you know the like this one right here. Like Thunder Road from Jim Cummings. I don't know if you know this guy. Yeah, small local film guy, or not local here, but small film guy. He's up and coming. He's been starring, writing, producing, and funding and all that for his own movies. And really, really talented guy. I recommend you check out his stuff. But I loved Thunder Road, so I was like, I have to have a copy of that in here.
Sweet.
If
Awesome.
anyone ever is looking for a recommendation, Thunder Road is it for me.
Great. That's awesome.
Just anything like that, especially the small artists like that, that just deserve recognition. Yeah.
And then music over here, if you're looking for a turntable, if you're looking for, records, of course, posters up here as well. I've been in here quite a few times, people buying band posters just as much as movie posters. So it's the beautiful thing there too.
Deck out that man cave. Yeah, people love doing that here, or the movie room, and yeah, there's all sorts of stuff for that. But yeah, that's all. My records over there, CDs right here. I got some cassettes in there too.
Oh shit! Okay.
Yeah, I got lots of stuff. I am also expanding right now. I did finally officially. So this will soon only be a music store, and then right across the hall, as I'm working on it now, the end of this month, that's going to be the all movie store.
Oh, damn. That's awesome.
I've run out of room to have everything lately. So I finally was able to get, instead of one big one, it worked out. I guess I'll have 2 stores, technically.
Awesome.
But yeah, a bit more of everything. I'm excited for that.
Well, awesome. I mean, come by. Where is Spin City located?
Yeah, so I'm in West Michigan, specifically Muskegon, Michigan. Very small town, just right up to the lake on your mitten here, right around here.
Yeah.
We do that here. That is true. We can direct them there, but yeah, that lower west side, kind of by the lake, Muskegon, Michigan, right in the Lakes Mall. You can find that info on our Facebook and Instagram. Go ahead and shoot those a follow, and you can always message me anytime. I'm always here to help, kind of thing. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, this has been absolutely sick. I will have this on YouTube here in the next couple of weeks. We'll have it up by Halloween. You know what I'm saying? Have a little fun here. So.
He's a lo-fi horror guy. Yeah, he's kind of a guy, but he is so lo-fi a horror guy. Yeah. Lo-fi horror guy has been recorded in front of a live studio audience.